The sun dipped below the horizon. Shadows stretched across Gloomhaven, long and hungry. Dusk had fallen, but the usual symphony of night sounds was missing. An unsettling silence blanketed the city. Gone were the distant calls of night vendors, the rhythmic clatter of steel on steel from the forges, even the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Gloomhaven, once a city alive with activity, now held its breath shrouded in an eerie quiet. The towering spires of the city, usually gleaming under the moonlight, were lost in the deepening shadows. A palpable tension hung in the air, thick and suffocating like the smoke from a doused fire. It was the silence before a storm. The heart of Gloomhaven, usually pulsing with life and energy, felt as though it had stopped beating. The citizens, once accustomed to the comforting rhythm of their city, now shuttered their windows, fear gripping their hearts. The streets, usually bustling with merchants and townsfolk, were now eerily deserted. Even the criminals, who usually thrived in the shadows, seemed to cower in the darkness. For tonight, something felt different, something felt wrong. The city of Gloomhaven, for the first time in a long time, was afraid. Days turned into a week. The silence remained unbroken. Nightbird, the city's protector, was gone. Whispers of his disappearance spread like wildfire through the city's twisting alleys and grand halls. Fear, once a murmur, now roared through the streets, a hungry beast unleashed. The criminals, sensing weakness, grew bolder. Petty thefts escalated to brazen robberies. The Guild, a shadowy organization that had long plagued Gloomhaven, resurfaced with renewed vigor. Their sinister laughter echoed through the night, a chilling testament to the city's growing despair.
The city guard, stretched thin and demoralized, fought a losing battle against the rising tide of lawlessness. The citizens, once hopeful and trusting, now lived in fear, their faith in their protector shaken to its core. The disappearance of Nightbird had left a void in Gloomhaven, a void quickly being filled by chaos and despair.
Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every corner a potential danger. Gloomhaven, once a symbol of resilience and strength, was teetering on the brink of collapse.
Mara slammed her fist on the table, the sound echoing through the silent war room. Maps of the city marked with the latest incidents covered the surface. Each red X represented a crime, a cry for help that went unanswered.
7 days, she growled, her voice tight with frustration. 7 days and still no sign of him.
Mara, captain of the guard and the closest thing Gloomhaven had to a leader, felt the weight of the city on her shoulders. She had dedicated her life to protecting Gloomhaven, working tirelessly to maintain order in a city teetering on the edge of chaos. But even her unwavering resolve was beginning to crack under the pressure. Nightbird's disappearance had hit her particularly hard. He was more than just a symbol of hope for Gloomhaven. He was a friend, a confidant. They had fought, side by side, countless times, their bond forged in the heat of battle. His absence left a gaping hole in her life, both professionally and personally. The others in the room, a motley crew of veteran guards and seasoned investigators, exchanged uneasy glances. They had never seen their captain so on edge. The disappearance of Nightbird had shaken them all, but for Mara it was personal. She refused to believe he was gone, not without a fight. A figure cloaked in darkness stood atop the clock tower, the highest point in Gloomhaven. The city sprawled beneath him, a tapestry of shadows and flickering lights. He held in his gloved hand a mask, its once vibrant colors now faded and dull. It was the mask of Nightbird. A low chuckle escaped his lips, the sound barely audible above the howling wind. It was a chilling sound, devoid of any warmth or humor. It spoke of power and malice, of a darkness that ran deeper than the shadows themselves.
"So the Protector has fallen," he whispered, his voice a raspy hiss. "And the city trembles in fear. The time has come for Gloomhaven to embrace a new guardian, a guardian of darkness."
He raised the mask, his gloved fingers tracing the outline of a single crimson feather etched onto its surface.
"The Nightbird is no more," he hissed, his words carried by the wind to the far corners of the city. "And from its ashes I shall rise."
He slipped the mask over his face, the city lights reflecting off its dull surface. The transformation was complete. Mara assembled a team, the city's finest, each chosen for their unique skills and unwavering loyalty. They were tasked with finding Nightbird, or at least uncovering the truth behind his disappearance.
Their investigation led them deep into the bowels of Gloomhaven, through winding alleyways and into the heart of the city's criminal underworld. We questioned informants, scoured crime scenes and chased shadows, our search for answers growing more desperate with each passing day.
But every lead seemed to turn into a dead end, every clue leading to more questions. They encountered strange occurrences, unexplainable phenomena that defied logic and reason. Whispers followed them in the dark, disembodied voices, uttering cryptic warnings.
Objects moved on their own, seemingly imbued with a life of their own. The line between reality and nightmare blurred with each passing day.
Despite the dead ends and the growing sense of dread, Mara refused to give up hope. She clung to the belief that Nightbird was still out there, somewhere, waiting to be found. She had to believe, for her sake, for the city's sake, and for the sake of the bond they shared. Mara found herself standing before the Wall of Heroes, a towering monument etched with the names of those who had given their lives protecting Gloomhaven. Nightbird's name wasn't there, not yet. She traced the outline of his name etched in her memory, not in stone. Memories flooded her mind.
Nightbird soaring through the sky, a dark avenger silhouetted against the moon. The clatter of his bow staff against the swords of the Syndicate, Gloomhaven's most notorious gang. The collective sigh of relief from the citizens as he drove back the shadows, time and time again.
She remembered the day they met. He had saved her from a collapsing building, his touch firm yet gentle as he pulled her from the rubble. His eyes, hidden behind the mask, had held a kindness that belied his fearsome reputation. They had been allies ever since, their bond forged in mutual respect and a shared desire to protect their city. Mara closed her eyes, willing back the tears threatening to spill.
Where are you? Gloomhaven needs you.
But the only response was the mournful whistle of the wind, a constant reminder of the city's growing despair. The messages began appearing everywhere, scrawled on walls, tucked into the folds of newspapers, even pinned to the cloaks of unsuspecting citizens. They were cryptic, unsettling, and always signed with a single crimson feather. Mara studied the latest message, the ink still wet, a shiver running down her spine.
The city is weak. It craves a new protector, one who understands its darkness.
The feather, a chilling reminder of Nightbird, seemed to mock her, a symbol of hope twisted into a threat. The messages were clearly taunts, a way for this new player to announce their presence and sow fear into the hearts of Gloomhaven's citizens. But they were also clues, breadcrumbs leading Mara closer to the truth, closer to Nightbird. Mara couldn't shake the feeling that these messages were a test, a way for this mysterious figure to gauge her, to see if she was worthy of playing their game, and she refused to disappoint. The confrontation was inevitable. Mara had followed the trail of cryptic messages and strange occurrences to the abandoned opera house, a once grand building now shrouded in shadows. It was a fitting stage for a final act. She stepped through the shattered doorway, her hand resting on the hilt of her sword. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay and something else, something ancient and malevolent. The silence was broken only by the sound of her own breathing. Then a figure descended from the rafters, landing gracefully on the stage. He was clad in a dark, twisted version of Nightbird's suit, the once vibrant colors now corrupted, the mask a grotesque parody of the hero's visage. He was everything Nightbird was not, a perversion of everything he stood for.
You have done well, Captain. You have followed the trail I laid out for you.
He circled Mara, his movements predatory, his gaze unwavering.
But the city is lost. It needs a new guardian, one who embraces the darkness.
Where is he? What have you done with Nightbird?
She drew her sword, the steel gleaming under the lone spotlight illuminating the stage.
The Nightbird is no more. He was weak, sentimental. He clung to the light, but the darkness always consumes.
He raised his hand, a swirling vortex of shadows forming around him.
I am the new protector of Gloomhaven, and I will remake this city in my image.
He lunged at Mara, the shadows swirling around him like a weapon. The battle was fierce, a whirlwind of steel and shadow. Mara fought with the fury of a cornered animal, her every strike fueled by rage and desperation. But the figure was strong, empowered by a dark magic that seemed to warp the very fabric of reality. As the fight reached its climax, Mara found herself disarmed, her back against the wall. The figure stood over her, his distorted mask inches from her face.
This city will fall, and you will kneel before your new master.
But just as he was about to deliver the final blow, a voice echoed through the theater, a voice that sent a jolt of hope through Mara's weary heart.
Not tonight. Gloomhaven still has a protector.
The figure froze, his head snapping towards the source of the voice. The spotlight shifted, illuminating the balcony overlooking the stage, and there, standing tall, silhouetted against the moonlight, was to be continued.